Okay, hello everybody. We are now live on Facebook. I believe this is our very first live session. So we are a Supercharge team, and really we want to look into telling people more about life and also about in general what should we really focus upon, right? So in general sense, this is our first live session, so I can't really see. Maybe we should start like sharing to different areas first and see whether who is on with us. Are you all sharing as well? Okay.
Yes,
Share.
I'm sharing it on my Facebook page. Wait,
Yeah, let's aim to share first so that people can see. Oh my gosh, it's so funny hearing myself. This is quite funny. Okay. This is
it's
our
fun.
first ever live session. So, okay, let's see.
And well,
Join
live.
us. Okay, I can see ourselves already. Okay, so without further ado, let me just say what this whole Supercharge series is about. So this Supercharge dialogue series aims to really look towards life matters and really help people understand a bit more as we interview people not only who are young and old and who can really help us understand a bit more about certain directions we are looking to in life lah. So for today's Supercharge dialogue series, we are looking into parenting. And we really want to talk more about the whole how you prepare for education for your kids, how do you prepare for university, how do you really look after children in general. And preparation for kids can be quite daunting. I think even for myself, I'm not a parent yet, but I'm looking to get married, looking to have a family for myself. And there's so many questions that I wish to ask about finances and how should I actually plan for such things. How should me and my girlfriend and my soon-to-be wife really consider all these kind of issues. And that's what we want to talk about. Actually, we are supposed to go live really on live session where we will sit down around the coffee table kind of thing and really talk about these issues, but due to the recent restrictions that we hear, so we decided to go live online via StreamYard. So it could be a bit iffy because we are like still trying to figure out things, and then we can see like it's powered by StreamYard and things like that. So feel free to ask us any questions. If you have any questions at all about as we go through this whole interview session, type it in the comments and we'll definitely address them as the time goes as well. So in the meantime, just to introduce myself, my name is Leon and I'm the host for today's Supercharge Dialogue series. And really want to share, you can see Eugene that's typing there. Yeah, really wish to share with you guys more about this whole session itself. Yeah, I'm an investing strategist and I am in charge of looking after my clients' portfolios and making sure it's holistic enough for their financial future. And I have with me Timothy and Felicia, who are parents in their own rights with wonderful children, and I will let them share about themselves. So first, Timothy, could you share more about yourself? Yeah.
Oh, sure. Thanks, Leon. My name is Timothy. We're actually colleagues, all three of us, Leon, Felicia, and myself, doing insurance advisory. Besides that, I'm also looking at a few different things as part of my ecosystem. So I look at recruitment and I look at training and coaching as well, as part of a whole suite of things that I'm trying to build. And like Leon mentioned, I'm a father to two kids. My kids are 15 and 12, so Sec 3 and a wonderful PSLE year. Right, so that's coming in, gosh, 3-4
PSLE.
months. Right, so sweat. The pressure is mounting. The mid years are just over, and so it's time to pull up our socks and start looking at getting the schools. We just talked about DSA a couple of days back. Yeah, so all the exciting things that parents go through when their children take major exams. I don't know if the parents are more stressed or the children are more stressed. Sometimes it seems like the parents are more stressed.
Yeah, clearly. Yeah. Thank you so much, Timothy, for sharing more about yourself. So now we'll go to Felicia as well. So Felicia, could you share more about what you do and how many kids you have and things like that? Yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Felicia. So I have been in the education sector almost all my life, and I've always been working with children and with families. I really feel that education gives children and their families a head start in life, and um, it really makes a difference, and that's one of the main factors that will really change their lives. And
Mm,
so, as an educator, all these while, I work very closely with children and their parents. And now that I'm in the financial industry, I see that being able to plan our finances well um, will also planning our finances well will also give the family a head start in life, and that's what I would like to do for families and especially with children in mind. So that's what I've been doing. And I feel that be it education or finances is something that we really have to plan for, because
mm-hmm.
once that time is lost, it's really hard to catch up. And yeah, I find both my work very meaningful.
Mm. Okay, thank
And
you so much, Felicia. Yeah, thank you so much, Timothy, as well. So, we really want to welcome them both for really giving their time to share more about what we should do as parents, or even what we should prepare for. So today's topic is about pitfalls that we should avoid. When we are parents, right? We really there's so many things to do with finances, with education that sometimes, even before we start, most of us go in blind. And for myself as well, I probably am going in blind if I don't know much about all this, how to be a parent and things like that. So we really want to address that. So we will ask Timothy and Felicia these questions. And at the same time, if you guys wish to ask such questions as well, please put it in the comments and we will definitely use them to address. I see some comments as well already from Eugene. So we will answer these questions later on as we go on the period. So really, this whole session is about an hour, so we really just want to have a very casual time, casual chit chat session, asking all these kind of questions. So just do feel free to join us in it. Okay, so I'll just to kickstart the whole dialogue, we will start with the first question. So my first question I will pose to Timothy. So Timothy, for someone, right, like me, for example, if I'm planning to get married and want to have kids, right, what's the most significant pitfall that I should avoid? And on hindsight, maybe it's something that you did, and you hope that you could navigate it better. Yeah. So why not you kickstart with that? Yeah.
Okay, sure. I hope your girlfriend's listening in because you mentioned a lot of times about getting married and having kids, lah.
I think
So,
she is
so,
just like.
so that's like a so that's like a hint for her. We shall await the good news. But there are a lot of things that, well, if, on hindsight, I thought I could do a lot better or a lot quicker or faster or plan better. Just a little bit of a story. I actually got married 4 months after I started work. So I don't think many people do such a thing.
Wow.
Yeah, I, I got married at 26 and I bought a house as I
At
got married
26.
at 26.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
So, well, I planned certain things, right? So I planned what I wanted. Um, it and we found the money to do it. I don't know how, maybe by God's grace, but we found the money to be able to purchase a house when we got married. So it's a lot of communication that's involved between the partners, between yourself and your partner. I had to talk a lot with my wife in terms of how we're going to plan the spending of our money. And that was just at the beginning of, just starting out this whole relationship and this whole marriage. You got to talk about, what you're going to spend on wedding, the wedding day itself. Before the wedding, it's no planning for, the pre-wedding photograph shoot, whether how elaborate you want it, where you want to spend your money, how big the wedding dinner is going to be. At every stage, there are a lot of decisions that need to be made, right?
Mm.
And unfortunately, a lot of these decisions include money, right? How much you're going to spend, how low key you want it, how high key you want it, how elaborate a wedding you want, what kind of house you want to buy, and moving forward into the marriage, when you're going to have kids, right? So I plan to have kids roughly about 2 years after I got married. It turned out to be, I think, closer to 3 years. I had my first kid when I was about 29. And we planned for it, right? So we did save, we did think about when we wanted to have kids, and we put money aside for it. But there are a lot of things that we could have done differently in terms of how we save, right? In those days, the idea of saving was take the money, put it in the bank, maybe a joint account, maybe an account with slightly higher interest rates. And knowing what I know now, that's probably not the best thing to do, because no matter how high the interest rates are, I mean, if you take things like, we had e-saver account, which gave you, I think at that point in time, 1.5%, right? If you put a certain amount in, and you look at inflation itself, inflation's right now hovering at about 2.6, 2.7%. That means that every dollar that I put into the bank really is eroding, right? The value of the money in the bank is eroding. And so just looking back in terms of how I saved and what I did with the money that we worked hard to earn, we could have put it to better use in terms of investments, in terms of an insurance savings plan, putting it into funds. There are a lot of things that we could have done to make our money work harder for us in that sense, which we didn't do at that point in time. So like I said, hindsight's a great thing. If we knew then what we know now, or even if the products that we have now are available, were available then, we could have done a lot of things. Like recently, I put together an insurance savings plan for my kids, and by the time they reach a retirement age, they would have close to $1 million.
Wow.
And just in that conversation with my wife, when we put this together, she turned to me and she told me, if we had this when we were much younger, we had this kind of products when we were much younger, we wouldn't even have to worry about our retirement that much nowadays, right? Because we would know that when we hit 65, we would have $1 million there for us to draw down from. But we never had these products then, and we never had a way to save that kind of money at that point in time. So I guess our children benefit from the knowledge that we've picked up and the lessons that we've learned along the way. And we've given them a little bit of a head start as to, what they can do for themselves in the future, right? I mean, instead of starting from a zero base, now they start from $1 million base for their retirement. Is that brilliant or what? So children are fortunate in more than one way nowadays.
Yeah, definitely. So for Timothy, when you mentioned about that, right? When you actually got this insurance plans for your children, do your children actually know about it? How do you educate them in that sense?
We just mentioned it to them, so they are aware that it exists. I don't think they know how much it is. I don't plan to tell them how much. I think, that talking to different people and hearing their conversations, there are different perspectives with this. I think partly that there are people who feel that they don't want their children to be aware that they have so much money because it builds a lot of complacency for them. Right? So they want to still have a certain amount of drive. They want to still be able to pick up the habit of saving and planning for their own future as well as they get older, rather than like silver spoon, just dangle it for them and say that don't worry, you don't got money. I don't think a lot of parents want that. They still want them to be able to develop some of these habits because that's going to pass down to their children as well. A lot of our children as well. So it echo.
Yeah. Testing.
So it's things like that. Why is that? Why is that echo suddenly?
I think there's a speaker issue. Okay. Yeah, okay. Thank you so much, Timothy, for sharing that. So let's move on to Felicia as well. So Felicia, in terms of people who are planning to get married, just the same as Timothy, what's one thing that probably you wish that you could have avoided together with your husband? And in terms of finances that maybe you should have addressed earlier that you haven't really, you on hindsight think that actually, yeah, I should have done this, but I never do. Yeah.
So,
So,
very much like Timothy, I got married when I was 26. And back then, we didn't think so much. We just thought, okay, there's nothing to wait for anymore. We've graduated. I have worked for about 2 years. He just started out working. And then we thought, okay, yeah, we want to, so let's just do it. So we didn't think too much about we have to save for the children before the marriage or save to have kids. We were just taking one step at a time, and the steps happened very quickly. So very soon after I got married, we also planned to have children, and we didn't have like a 1 year or 2 year period like Timothy. So everything came at once. We got married shortly after, then we had a child, but of course that will take another 9 months, right? So we had 9 months to prepare.
Yes, that's how it works.
Yes. And back then, we decided to first stay in with my parents because the resale market was really expensive. And so I didn't think that there was a lot of planning. I think everything was done in good faith. But everything worked out fine. So on hindsight, when I look back, I realized that when we got married at 26, it's considered quite early. And of course, we wouldn't have as much savings as people who got married in their 30s. So back then, I just started out, I stopped flying, and then I joined MOE. Yeah, so I took a major pay cut. And then, then the house came in. So soon after my daughter Ashley was born, we had our house. And we had more and more bills to pay. And on hindsight, I realized that I should have put a little bit more into the education plan. But we didn't, because back then, our resources, our money were quite tied up. You know, new family, new house, new car, new baby. And then there is the house renovations as well. Yeah. So when recently I started looking back at what could have been done better, then I realized that back then when we were 26, 27, we were very safe. We were very worried to commit, to save more. And so we got them quite a small plan to begin with. Right? And Ashley, she's 12 this year, same like Timothy, our children are taking the PSLE exams. And yes, that's one thing that I feel that we could have done better. Because, you know, when you are in that situation, you don't really realize that your salary is going to increase, right? And then soon when your finances stabilize, you will be able to save more. You start getting savvier with your investments. And when you look back, 5 years has passed, 10 years has passed. And like Timothy said, the money was just sitting there in OCBC Bank. After 10 years, it's still the same. And I realized that even if you just hantam any savings plan with an insurance company, it would have hedged against inflation. You would have gotten a few $1,000s, you know, when it matures. But back then it was just sitting in the bank, right? So as parents, I realized that I could have done that better for my children. Yeah. But getting married and the planning, I think it's for every couple. So if you I feel like if you start to plan and count your finances before you even get married, things can get very stressful. So for us, it was very straightforward. We just worked within our budget. If we only had 20K for the wedding or 30K, 50K, then we would just work according to that. Yeah. What's the most important is that
Yeah, okay, sorry, my speaker got some issues, so I needed to mute myself, but I totally heard that as well. So yeah, I think understanding from what Felicia you have mentioned is really about you know, working within your means at the same time. But I mean, on hindsight, if we could also, I mean, it's good to have the knowledge, right? I mean, from both Timothy and Felicia, what I understand is if we have the knowledge on hindsight, it's amazing. So it's always good to have people who are older than us, perhaps, who have already gone through that whole process to know whether, saving is better or not, or, whether how much we should put aside and things like that. So definitely it's something that I would consider. And also at the same time, I realized you all get married very early. And have children very early also, which is like, I think things have changed. I think this generation has become a bit more different. Well, I mean, ultimately, things are getting more and more expensive, as we all understand, right? Singapore is the most expensive country and things like that. So, the whole landscape has changed accordingly. And definitely, I mean, these philosophies that you all have said, I mean, still are that important. Saving, whether we should put aside the money into better plans for investment and things like that. So I think let's pick up one of the questions from the comments as well from Eugene, and maybe we throw it to the floor. So Eugene actually asked, should we actually buy life insurance for our kids, or wait for them to grow up and buy it on their own? So maybe Timothy, you want to answer this first?
Okay, it's chicken and egg problem, I feel. What's the purpose of life insurance? The purpose of life insurance in most cases is as an income replacement tool, right? So you normally buy life insurance on people who are working, because if something happens to them and they are unable to work anymore, then the family needs the money to survive for a certain period of time. So general rule is 10 years, right? So you would normally insure yourself for 10 times of your income, so that if anything happens to you, your family is able to sustain for 10 years, right? Until they can pick up, the children grow older, the spouse has a chance to go into the workforce and earn some money to supplement. For children, there is no real income at that point in time, so there is no real need for income replacement. What some parents do is they do buy it because of the potential that something may happen to them, and they are unable to buy a life insurance cover in the later years or when they start working. For example, I had a friend who at 16 had kidney failure, right? So 16 years old, kidney failure, not able to buy any life insurance ever, right? So if he waited until the point that he started work, he would have never been able to get life insurance. I had another friend, 22 years old, diabetes, just out of NS, he got diabetes type 2, right? Again, would have problem getting life insurance. So if they had bought this early, or the parents had bought coverage early for them, they would have at least some insurance in place. The other thing to consider is critical illness, because critical illness is something that will hit. Unfortunately, at any age, there are increased incidents of children getting things like cancers. Actually had a friend who years ago had a sister who passed away from leukemia at 15. And so leukemia is one of the things that really hit children quite. It's quite common, right? That children get leukemia, and even other types of cancers. The incidence rates among children is getting higher, right? So that's one of the things that parents do want to buy. They want to make sure that children are covered for critical illness, because there could be increased costs attached to it. For example, they may need certain amount of treatment that may not be covered under, let's say, a traditional shield plan, right? And they may need extra cash, or they may have to take time out of work, like no pay leave, to take care of their children, and they need something to supplement that as well. So there are different reasons for buying it. The general idea for insurance is income replacement, but you can use it as a tool to protect against different things, and everybody has different needs, right? So it's a conversation that you need to have with your advisor to be able to assess your needs, to be able to see what you yourself need as an individual or family for your kids. right? And it's very customized to whatever your needs are.
Okay, thank you so much, Timothy, for sharing that. So yeah, the basic understanding of it for kids, essentially life insurance is really, I mean, when you mention about your friends, it's about the locking in of that health situation, lah, right? In terms of, kids, they are young, and life insurance for that matter are actually cheaper, right, for children
Very
of their
affordable.
age. Very affordable. Yeah, very affordable. So in terms of what you can accumulate for the kid at the end of the day, it could be way more, and at the same time when they pay out in terms of at the end of the life or anything, for any of the other purposes, it could be more as well. Yeah. Okay, so let's roll back a bit. I want to ask Felicia one thing as well. Okay, so which is really more about education, right? We spoke about education earlier on, and I really want to understand a bit more. Felicia, what's your education philosophy like? In terms of in general sense, or even in terms of finances, right? How do you plan for education for your kids, and how do you what is important for you in that sense? Yeah.
So being in the
So being
education
in the education.
for the last 12, 13 years, I see that every child is different. Even my daughter and my son, they are very, very different. And they learn at their own pace. They really learn at their own pace. As parents, we can try to enforce certain expectations unknowingly, or we might expect them to do a certain amount of work. But like I said, every child is different. And one child might be able to finish that 10 pages of assessment, but another child in the same family might not be able to, just because he is able to do it at a different pace, right? So my philosophy is education is extremely important. However, it is also a fact that education in Singapore is highly stressful, and we have a lot of students who achieve very high results. We have a lot of high achievers. It's really very hard to compete with the ones up there, and there is always this fear of being left behind, especially for parents who really want their children to have a bright future, right? So education is like locking in their future, just like we buy insurance at a young age to lock in that insurability for their health status. So we do so, even more so for education. But at the end of the day, I really feel that we should focus on their daily happiness, because I've seen how the national exams like PSLE and O level, it really takes such priority in their lives for many students, so much so that they almost stop breathing. They almost stop living their life just because it's PSLE year, because day in, day out, it's really just focusing on their studies. And I feel that education is very important. I feel that our children, as long as we are there to guide them and to impart the right attitude, learning attitude and values, they really will learn in time to come. It is not in our place to say, oh, you must know this by when, even though the system says so. And so that's why we have the normal tech, we have the normal academic stream, and we also have the express stream, right? And I wouldn't say that children in the other two stream is not as good as the ones in the express stream, because they are late bloomers. And so for my children, although education is extremely important and I would like them to get a university education eventually or more, I feel that just living a happy and fulfilling life and family time is very important. So that's my philosophy for education, that we shouldn't lose sight
We
of
shouldn't lose sight of
more things in life.
more things.
Yeah, but at the same time, education is more about the attitude of learning than just achieving those A stars. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Felicia, for sharing that. Yeah, I think ultimately, education is like everything. Like I think in Singapore especially, but at the same time, like what Einstein says, right? You can't. I forget the exact phrasing of it, but teaching a fish to climb a tree, kind of thing. It's a you can't expect that, right? And for each child, it's definitely different, right? And each children they have different talents, different skills, and it's not as easy as just telling them like, oh, you must get A. You know, I mean, a lot of us, you know, always there's a joke about Asians, right? And we need to, you know, always get A. You cannot come out with B, then we become Bisians. Okay, all these kind of funny things. But yeah, clearly that's the case. And yeah, I think different children are different. At the same time, but I think in general sense, what I know is that, you know, a lot of parents nowadays are trying to bring their kids to more supplementary lessons, tuition, and things like that. You know, how do yourself, like for both you and Tim, right? Do you guys really look into such supplementary lessons? And if for such supplementary lessons, I mean, definitely these are expenses that you need to put aside, right? And how does that planning come about? How can you plan for such supplementary lessons? And I mean, nowadays there's also CCAs, right? You know, when students go for piano lessons and whatnot, plus their own CCAs, then you need to buy their, for example, badminton.
Fact is that many families in Singapore, they spend thousands of dollars on supplementary lessons, whether it's academic or non-academic. Okay, thousands of dollars. A family of 2 children, it's quite common to spend up to $1,000 to $2,000 just for these classes a month. And like Tim and my kids, they're doing the PSLE this year. Well, one subject, if you go to a more reputable center, it is about $300 a month, right? So you have 4 subjects, that will be $1,200, and if you have 2 children, then it will be $2,400. So for myself, I started my girl in P5, P6 for more supplementary classes or the more reputable ones. Before that, I was just guiding her along. We had some extra lessons here and there, but yeah, if you're talking about the cost, then this is the amount that many Singaporean families are looking at. Tim, will you agree?
Yeah, I mean, it's a philosophy, right? In terms of what I did with my kids, I spoke with my wife, and both my children actually take Chinese, take Mandarin, right, in school. Even though I am not Chinese per se, I'm half Indian, half Chinese. So when my kids were younger, we decided that it's one of the things that they need to have an advantage in, because we don't speak Mandarin at home, we speak English at home, and my wife's Mandarin is okay, mine is horrible. so it's going to be a problem for them if they don't develop a liking for the subject, which means so I decided, no, we decided at a young age we'll send them for berries. They'll get exposure to the language, and that started from maybe nursery age, all the way until about primary 4. And they developed, you know, the fundamentals, the foundation in the language, and by some miracle, both my children are taking higher Chinese now. Right, so it has worked out for them in terms of setting the foundation right and making sure that they did well. But that's the only thing I actually ever sent my kids for. I've got this understanding with my kids in terms of any enrichment things that they want to do, right? So be it piano, be it any extra tuition, the understanding is that they must tell me that they want it, and if they really want it, then they need to commit to it, and we will be able to fund it, because they do understand that money is not infinite, and there's only so much money to go around, and it's going to cost money to do some of these things. I don't want them to go for something just because we are forcing them to do it. Firstly, they don't absorb anything. It doesn't get into. I mean, if you send them for, 3 different types of tuition, they don't want to be there, they will not learn. And that's really what happened to me when I was younger, and I was doing really badly in Mandarin, and my parents sent me for tuition. And at some point in time, I told my dad, I said, don't waste your money. I go every week, and I'm just not interested in learning the subject. Don't waste your money. Just use it for something else. I'm not going to do any better than I'm already doing. Right? And I didn't want that for my kids. So I want them to be able to tell me that they want something, and they are willing to put in the effort to learn and to do, when it came to piano, to practice. If not, then there's no point, right? If we're going to throw money at it and they're not going to put in the effort on their end, then there's no point. So uh, whenever they have problems, like when my daughter had wanted help with math, she came to us and I asked her, I said, is it something that you can practice and learn, or is it something you don't understand? If you don't understand, we'll find somebody to help you, right? To explain the concepts to you, to go run through the methods, the models, whatever with you. And we can do that, for you if you want it. But if it's something like, I haven't practiced enough and I understand, but I just didn't do enough practice, then there's no point. Just go and practice, right? Don't waste the money.
I also feel that in lower primary, they should enjoy school life and not after school I have to bathe and then I have to rush for tuition, have lunch and rush for tuition. It's I feel that children, when they are in lower primary especially, they should have time to play at home after they come home from school. They should have time to go outdoors after school and not just spend the rest of their day again in another classroom. And really, I think lower primary is still very manageable. Of course, if it's a language and it's going to be learned in a fun way, then that's good. So I also sent my children to Berries when they were young. And I didn't send them to something more hardcore because I wanted them to have fun. So I'm not advertising for Berries, but I think Tim will also agree that in Berries they have to sing and dance and play. And
when they were younger, it was a lot like that. Yes.
Yeah.
And so that's what intrigued me about Berries.
Yeah. So my friend was like, "Oh, why don't you put in another one? They have more writing." I say, "No, don't want writing. Let them enjoy the language and let them enjoy their lives." And P5, P6 is because the curriculum has really gotten a lot tougher. The jump is very big in terms of difficulty. And so my daughter also has requested for some help. And I feel that if I am able to do so as a parent, then I would like to give her that support as much as possible. But of course, then like Timothy said, because they want it, and then so they will learn better. However, if we're gonna force it down their throat, then it's going to be a very different matter altogether.
So that's how prioritize the money, right? I mean, if we talk about managing the finances and the money and planning, right? It's a prioritizing based on where we feel that the need is, and where they have highlighted to us where the need is. And a lot of times, yes, there's money that's set aside for it, as part of the planning, and these are for expenses, right? And it's a matter of prioritizing where you should allocate the money for expenses in terms of your entire budget. There are some things that you can't run away from. You got to buy food. You got to pay for utilities, the loans, and whatever, right? And there's a lot of expenses that come from raising kids, and this is one of those expenses which you need to save for. Right. So a lot of people don't think about some of these things. They think about, I need which school they're going to send to and how much I need to save for. If I'm going to uni, I need to save $50,000. This is a local uni. If I go overseas, I need to save $100,000, etc. But it's a lot of the day-to-day costs also add up, right? And these are things you need to budget. And I've always done it in an Excel spreadsheet and put it together and just look at the expenses and that kind of thing.
Right? And that's why it's good to start young, right? Because you don't want to start later when the expenses go up. In fact, when they're babies, a lot of people think that babies, they require a lot of, we need a lot of money to bring our children up. But actually, I think, would you also agree that when they're babies, they really don't spend much except when they fall sick? Other than that, it's just milk powder and then some jabs here and there.
I was very happy when they went to primary school, actually. Because the kindergarten cost is just ridiculous, your childcare, your kindergartens, and it's a real huge jump. I remember it was not like, I can't remember, a few hundred a month for kindergartens, and then when you go to primary school, it's $7. So that's a huge chunk in the amount that you pay. But they do cost. I mean, childcare. When we were exploring, childcare or infant care or childcare versus, hiring a helper at home and looking at the cost between the two, it's a lot of money, in infant care and childcare, and there's a certain amount of subsidies, but it's still a lot of money that's involved in just raising the kid. So
Yeah.
there are costs that people don't always consider. I remember it cost like 1,002 or 1,008 for infant care or something like that a month for one kid, and that's a huge chunk of your salary going to that just for one kid. Imagine you have more than one kid in that same age group. It really costs a lot, and that's why planning is important, right? Before you have kids, you need to have a certain amount of money set aside for that. When you have kids, you also need to start planning for future, right? And I think like Eugene mentioned in one of the chats, in one of the comments in the chat, it's about saving early and letting it grow, right? And so it's about planning and putting your money aside in different means to make sure that you grow your money to the point that you actually need it, right? And we've all realized that putting it in the bank, I mean, the bank interest rate is 0.0, don't know what percent now.
About 5.
Yeah, 0.05%, which is ridiculously low. It's next to nothing, right? And so money should be should be put into different mechanisms to make it work harder for you, right? To grow
And
it.
also, and I also think delayed gratification, because it really is about lifestyle that we're talking about. And actually, if you just sacrifice that one meal out or that coffee place, if you go to that coffee place 4 times a month, you decide to go 3 times instead, you will save that amount for education already. So it's really about your priorities and needs, and really just setting that amount aside, because that money will be spent anyway. So might as well plan it well, so that it will amount to something at the end of the day. Can amount to a lot more. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, that's true. I mean, listening to guys really mention about so many things in regards to like education and the kids, and it's really about planning, right? I mean, even Timothy talked about having Excel sheet. Well, some people do that, some people don't. But I mean, budgeting is definitely key, lah, right? Be it for any purposes at all, and especially for children, I think it takes a lot of sacrifice as parents, right? Like you said, have to set aside, that coffee place that you want to go and things like that. I think it's necessary. If you have kids, I mean, these are your children. These are people that you really care for their future and things like that. And yeah, about delayed gratification, I totally agree as well. Yeah. And let's go to the comments as well and see if there's any other questions. Okay, there's one question by Eugene again. So what age should kids start to learn financial skills? So actually true. What age would a kid need to learn financial skills? I think actually primary school would be a good time, right? What do you think? Felicia, what do you think?
I think when they start learning how to count, we can teach them already. But yeah, you're right. Maybe in primary school, because that's when we start giving them pocket money, and that's when they have to learn how to save it, put it into the piggy bank. I feel that at that age, that they are able to understand simple money concepts. So I actually run cha-ching programs, cha-ching financial literacy program for young children, and they have a lot of fun learning on Zoom. Previously, we held it in a physical space, but since COVID, it has been held on Zoom, and I think that the kids actually they enjoy the hands-on activities when it comes to money management, and so primary school
So
age.
you were mentioning about 7 years old. Oh wow. Okay, so you mentioned me about cha-ching. What exactly is this cha-ching thing about?
Right. So it's a financial literacy program that is in partnership with Cartoon Network. So we have a series of videos and slides that are really colorful, very engaging, very catchy songs. And the children, they sit through 2 days of this course, and it's only 1.5 hours for each day.
Each.
And then after that, they get a certificate, which they can print out on their own. Yeah.
Which
And so
they
I
learn
also
about.
Sorry?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So
You
they,
can
they
continue
get
first.
a
Yeah.
they get a booklet, and then they get a foldable money box, and then there are also activities for them to do with their parents at home. So that's where parent and child get to interact and learn together. So it's a meaningful program. Good.
Okay, sorry, my speaker a bit funny, that's why a bit here and there. But yeah, okay, I totally get the charging. So it's really for kids in 7 to 12, right? They get to learn about financial literacy, and they learn very basic concepts about saving and things like that, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, yeah,
Also
I
that
think,
part
yeah,
about
definitely.
sharing, that part about sharing your money, I think that's very educational as well.
Sharing
So
your money
it's
with people who need it.
Yeah, spending, saving, and sharing. So
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think definitely in this generation now, I mean, kids, thinking about my own generation, I'm not sure about your generation. I think in terms of financial literacy, there isn't much being taught about in schools, right? And most of the time, parents don't really say too much as well, right? They just give you that pocket money. You will do whatever you want with it. It's safe or whatnot. And at the same time, they don't really go in depth as to what you should do, how you should budget, things like that. And all these are kind of learned from different places, in terms of friends or whoever who has an elder brother and things like that. So I think definitely financial education is super important for children, and they should start when they're young. Yeah. So can I pose this question to Timothy as well? I think in general, when we talk about, like, for example, kids, right, pocket money, for both of you have kids that are in primary school and secondary school, right, around that age. Pocket money, do you think it's wise to give pocket money every single day, or do you think it's wiser to give pocket money, in a month? I heard from people that are replicating that monthly kind of thing. It seems like a monthly salary, and to get them to budget and manage. What are your thoughts on it?
I think it depends on your kid and depends on their age, right? If your kid will spend all the money that you give them for the month or the week at the bookshop, then don't give them the money at one go, because the kid's going to starve for the rest of the month. Right now, I give my kids, my son gets it daily. My daughter's in a school where they actually use a card to tap, which is linked to, I think, my wife's bank account. So they just tap. So not so much in terms of budgeting, but it's like a EZ-Link card where you just tap when you want to buy food. I actually think maybe in secondary school it's probably a better time for them to learn how to budget properly. But I do teach my children to set aside the money that they don't need and put it into. So they've always, since they've gone to primary school, to put the balance money into a piggy bank, and it really accumulates over time. Actually, off and on, we'll just take the money out and pour it out, and like, wow, so much money. And then my son said, "Oh, I can buy games." I said, "No, no, 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 no. Not everything is going to a game." But it's also teaching them, the value of the money, right? So I tell them things like, yes, you have accumulated all this money, or you got ang pao money that's, a few $100s. It doesn't mean that you have the money, you need to spend the money. There's this whole thing about accountability and knowing how to prioritize the use of your money. It's not whether you can use or not. You can use all of it, but should you be using all of it at one time, right? Do you think it's worth doing that? And then he will start thinking about it. He say, no, maybe I'll put this in the bank, and then I'll just use a little bit of it, right? But it's also empowering them to make some of these decisions themselves. Just give them information, give them a thought process, and tell them and ask them questions, and not decide for them. So I give him a scenario and say, should you be using all your $200 to buy a game or a few games? And after a while, he'll come to me and say, "Oh, maybe I just want to buy one, and I'll put the rest of the $150 in the bank." And it's a decision that he made, right? And I think it's teaching them skills, letting them learn, getting them used to that thought process, so that they learn how to do it on their own without us having to tell them. And so far that's worked for me. But at this point in time, he well, actually he doesn't spend the money that much. Sometimes his recess money he doesn't use at all. And I asked him, "You didn't eat?" He said, "Yeah, I played during recess." You know, and so also I have to teach him how to balance. You know, you need to eat still. You can play after that. You still need to eat. Instead of just putting all your money aside and saving it and not eating at all.
Can I just add on to
Otherwise,
that?
Yeah, sure, Felicia. Yeah.
So for little children, right, they always think like if we tell them, okay, you don't spend first and then we will keep it in the bank for you, they feel like their money has disappeared, you know. Then they say, then where's my ang pao money? My son doesn't want to give me his money to keep in the bank because he says I cannot see it. Then he will quickly take the $50 and quickly put it in the piggy bank, you know, so that he cannot take it. So where's the money? He said I put it in the piggy bank already. And then after, so I think it will also be a fun process for them if they actually bring their money to the bank. Maybe we can change it into dollar notes. Or we can just bring them to the ATM, let them put it in themselves. When the receipt comes out, then they will see, oh, this is the money that has been deposited. So I think these are little things that we can do with them so that they understand how to bank in the money and that the money is actually there. My son actually asked me, "Mommy, how much money do I have in my bank? Do I have a bank book, you know, to see how much money I have?" And then I just
they
you
do.
don't need to know how much you have in your bank. I said,
Do you
that's
remember years back they used to have that POSB? I
yeah.
don't know what was it, Beaver or Bear, right?
That's
And then you put your,
I was my
Yeah.
you put, you save money in it, and then you bring the whole thing to POSB, and then they will that will be your deposit, and then they'll
Yes.
count it for you. Yeah, so that addresses that whole situation, right? Of them not being able to see the money
So
and
when it comes to
knowing
parenting,
that
there
it's
are
going
also
somewhere.
there are also two schools of thought, right? One, do you tell your children that they have their own money and they expect you to give it to them when they're 21? You know, some might demand for it. Or are we going to say, hey, this money, yeah, it's given to you, but do you know why you're getting ang pao money? Because mommy and daddy also has to give ang pao, and so it's like an exchange.
fair point.
So then we can say, you know, you're young, you haven't started earning money. So actually, these are daddy and mommy's money, right? So eventually, if we have, then we will pass it on to you. Otherwise, then you have to grow up and earn your own money. So there is one school of thought, and then there's the other school of thought. So it depends on what is your parenting style. And I don't think there's a right or wrong. It's just every family is different.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on what skills you want to teach your children, right? And I think there are different sets of skills depending on your approach.
Yeah.
Whether it's managing money or whether it's realizing that money is not so easy to come by, and really your approach will mimic whatever you're trying to share with your children as a value that you want them to have. Right. So money management skills are something that you need to teach from a young age. I feel they need to understand the value of money. And I mean, in my whole journey, I realized that my kids at one stage didn't realize that things were really that expensive. Right? You know, when I was working in a corporate role and earning good money, I asked them where they want to go, and it's this restaurant or that restaurant. And then when I left my corporate job, I told them we need to tighten our belt, and we can't go to these places anymore. Then they started realizing that these places start costing a lot, really cost a lot of money. But there are many alternatives that make more sense, right, in terms of value for money, right? Hawker centers, coffee shops. And slowly but surely, they realize that, I don't have to go to a restaurant and eat. There's plenty of good food around. And so the choices have shifted. They don't straight away, if you ask them to eat, they'll say, oh, this restaurant name or that restaurant name. And unfortunately, because we grew up in an environment that we didn't have that many things, we try to give a lot to our children. And because we try to give a lot to our children, they sometimes don't value it that much. We understand because we worked hard to get our money. We came from a certain place where we didn't get that, frequently, and it was really a treat to go to a restaurant. Sometimes it was a treat to go to McDonald's, when we grew up. Now it's like nothing. And so the understanding of the value of money is different. And that's something that I feel as parents we need to teach. And it needs to be congruent with our behaviors as well. Because you can't tell them that, it's very expensive to go to these places and keep going to these places. They won't understand it.
True.
Right?
Yeah,
you need to be congruent. You need to demonstrate it. You say that, oh no, let's go to the coffee shop and have a meal. There's really good food there. It's a lot more affordable. Maybe it's not as nice in terms of the environment and the ambience, but we can get really good food and we can get really full eating that.
Yeah.
And they slowly realize it that we need to mimic some of these behaviors for our children, so that they will follow not what we say only, but what we do.
Yeah, I think.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
Felicia,
think
you can.
when we highlight to them during a family outing, it's not to make them feel that, hey, I've spent so much money on you, or do you know that we have spent so much today? But I think it's really helpful when we break down the cost for them. Let's say if you go watch a movie plus a popcorn and then plus a lunch at a restaurant, and then later maybe you go for coffee, or it might be an outing to Universal Studios. The ticket itself is quite costly, and then a meal there is at least 100 plus if you go and eat at a restaurant, family of 4 minimally, right? So I find it quite useful when I break down the cost for my daughter, and then she understands, hey, a family outing like that actually costs a couple of hundreds of dollars, right? And it wouldn't occur to her. And then of course we will also have outings where we just go for a picnic, we bring our sandwiches, we lay a mat on the floor, we only pay for car park, and then we go home, right? And we still have a lot of fun. So I think it's something that I try to conscientiously share with my daughter, because children being children, they will enjoy, and then they will eat, they will play. But if you want to teach them financial skills or the knowledge of how money works, or what is value for money, I feel and think that it has to be explicit sometimes. And that will really work, because they have just enjoyed themselves. They have eaten all the food. They have played to their fullest. So, yeah. Then all these need money. Yeah. So
Yeah, I
then
think
I tell them, you know why
getting.
you have to study hard to have a good job if you want to continue this lifestyle.
Yeah, which is what a lot of parents have told their children as well, right? In general sense, really education leads to. I mean, the reason why you're studying is for a good job, and essentially, it's just to educate everyone that at the end of the day, everything needs money. And I think I totally agree with what both Timothy and yourself mentioned about awareness, right? These kids need to be aware, because essentially, if you're not aware, definitely they will be pampered, right? They will feel like everything comes to them. Money is easy to get in that sense, and everything is being paid for, because ultimately, as parents, I mean, from how you all have explained to me, I'm not a parent yet, but it's really, we want to sacrifice, right, every single thing for them. But that sacrifice as well has a balance, right? At the end of the day, we need to educate them on the whole process as to how to really think about your money, and how to really assess whether buying certain things are right, or buying certain things in a coffee shop, and for example, it's way better, and you still can get decent food. So yeah, actually we are almost about time. We are almost an hour through. Time flew very fast. I have no idea why. So really, I want to thank Timothy and Felicia for your time. But I know that there's one more thing that you guys wanted to share about, which is a framework, right, to share with the audience, called the PER framework. So Timothy, can you elaborate a bit further what this PR framework is before we close off this whole live session?
Okay. It's really a simple framework. It's just more of a thought process. And the PER stands for Protection, Education, and Retirement. And how I would prioritize what we look at for our children is firstly make sure they're protected, right? First and foremost, medical insurance. Make sure they have a shield plan in place. One of the things that I've been in the insurance industry my entire career, more or less, and that's almost 20 years. And even being in the industry when I had my daughter, it took me almost a year to get a shield plan for her. Right, I just kept putting it off. No, it's not that I didn't know that I had to have it. It's just that one thing came after another, and I just never got down to doing it until some point. I said, okay, forget it. I better do it quickly. And so you need to prioritize that. You need to make sure that your kids are protected, and medical insurance is one of the most important things to get. And then we talked earlier about having life insurance in place. If you want to lock in insurability, making sure that you have critical illness cover for your kids in case something happens to them, and that's really a big chunk of money that's required to get them treated. And so these are the things that I would look at first in terms of protecting your children before we talk about education. And a lot of people come and look at what can I save, what can I do to plan for my kids' education. But really, whatever savings you have will get eroded if something happens to your kid and you need to use the money, right? So make sure they are protected first. Yeah. Yes, Felicia.
Yeah. You just finished your sentence, sorry.
Okay. Yeah, so education comes after that. Making sure that you look at things to save. I know we all want to save to make sure that our kids have enough to go to university. Whether it's local or overseas, then you need to plan the different amounts. I mean, obviously overseas is going to be like 2-3 times more expensive, depending on which school you go to. And so you need to be able to save. And again, it's the earlier you save, the easier it is for you to accumulate whatever you need, right? The time horizon is larger, whether it's 18 years or whether it's for a guy, whether it's 20 years before they go to university or even more. Right? At least the longer the time horizon, the less impact it has on the amounts that you need to save individually per year. So do plan early and work towards a target. Do factor in that in 20 years' time, the cost of education now will not be the same. So if it costs 50,000 now, it may cost you 80,000 in 20 years' time. So you have to factor for increase in cost due to inflation. And you just think back, a cup of kopi 20 years ago was a lot less than the cup of coffee now, right? And that's going to happen to all prices. And so if you're saving for your children's future and it's $50,000 to get them to a local U now, you got to factor more, right? And you got to save for that. And the last thing that you want to consider is like what I mentioned earlier in terms of planning for the retirement, whether it's your retirement or whether it's your children's, giving your children a head start for retirement. The last thing you want to do is to make sure that you burden your children with your retirement, so plan for your own retirement. If you want to put money aside to plan for your children's retirement as well, give them a head start in life like what I've done to my children, then that's also something to consider after you look at the other two aspects, which would be more immediate. So if any planning that you do, I feel that you need to prioritize. And so look at the things that you need to put in to prioritize in saving for protecting your kids and saving for the different things that you need to save for.
Yep.
Yes, Felicia, you want to add?
Yeah, Felicia, you want to add something?
Oh, sorry to interrupt. Yeah, I just wanted to butt in the insurance, the protection part. I have spoken to many families, and it's just my personal opinion that the blind spot is always on life insurance for children. And of course, Timothy has already highlighted the important point about insurability. But I just want to share that when I meet parents in their 30s and their 40s, they are actually looking at life insurance. And then they tell me, Felicia, it's quite expensive. So if I want a $500,000, $1 million coverage, it's going to be quite costly. And then I will share with them, if you actually do that for your child now, when he is at your age, in his 30s and in his 40s, he wouldn't have to worry so much about getting life insurance for himself because you have already gotten it for him. And it is something that I feel that money cannot buy because of the health status. So a lot of parents whom I meet in their 40s, they have some kind of a health condition and there are exclusions, right? So I tell them, if you actually get this for your children, so I actually got them for my own kids. And I feel that that will really give them a head start in life. And then when they start working, they can start saving for their future, whether it's for their retirement or for their future goals, for their children. But I have already, as a parent, given them a head start in life, and then they can build on. They can build on it. Yeah. So like Tim said, really the protection part is very important.
Yeah. Definitely, I think I think a lot of people do miss this blind spot, especially the protection part for their children. I think, in essence, we always think about ourselves sometimes, right? When we look into insurance, we fail to see as well, like, okay, if I have a family, then who do I need to look out for? Who do I need to purchase for? And for children especially, I think we're only concerned about education, but we fail to see the protection aspect of it. So definitely, I think protection is quite important as well. And I mean, after we are certain with protection and education, then for sure retirement comes later on when we have already addressed all these two, and then now we're looking at the retirement for them. Yeah, I totally agree. And I really want to thank both Timothy and Felicia for your time today in sharing so much about how to really prevent all these kind of mistakes and pitfalls, to really plan for your children's future, and at the same time plan yourself to get ready for all these kind of challenges. I think for me, I've learned a lot as to I better start planning now basically. Instead of like maybe I should have planned like 26 years old or 25 years old, but I haven't. Anyway, but I think essentially I need to come up with my own Excel sheet and everything. But I think essentially all these things need planning. And I think most, like I see some couples and things like that, they don't really think about such things. And these are essential stuff. And really want to thank you guys for sharing deeply and also from your own experiences and things like that. And also, I think Timothy has posted in Facebook as well. You can follow us on the Facebook group, Supercharge Your Future. It's a Facebook group really to look into not just finances, but we'll talk about mindset. We'll talk about every other thing, in terms of life. And at the same time, we also have a Telegram channel that you all can join us in the link below as well. And we are really looking into gathering people and really share more about, how we can manage our finances and really supercharge ourselves into the future, right? And you can also follow us on Facebook, listed down Facebook for Timothy, myself, and Felicia. And for Instagram as well, you can follow us on Instagram. And for myself, I'll be posting a lot about investments and also along the lines of finances. So you can look into that. And if anything, Timothy and Felicia, do you guys want to do any shout outs? Maybe Timothy, you want to start with a shout out before we end the whole session?
Oh, okay. Just connect with us. I think if you have any further questions, do connect with us on our socials and drop us a message, and we'll be glad to speak with you and connect with you. We do have a series of webinars that we will be conducting as we go along, and it's going to be quite frequent, different things that we're doing, and we're going to do a bit more of these dialogues as well as we go along. So connect with us, join the Facebook group, and you will get updates as to what we're doing, and we'll post it there. And if you have any questions, reach out to us privately, and we'll be glad to sit down with you and have a chat over what you want to do in terms of planning for your children or even planning for yourself.
Okay, Felicia, do you have anything you want to say?
It's good. Timothy has said it all. So feel free to connect with us, Leon. We'll be more than happy to give you an obligation-free review of what you currently have. I think a second opinion is always good because it's good to have a peace of mind, right? And an objective opinion from a friend that you have. Yeah, which is us.
Yep. And basically what Timothy mentioned as well, this kind of dialogues that we'll have, we'll discuss a lot of other things, and we're looking to maybe talk about, some people are asking us, maybe you should consider, what about cars, should we spend on cars, how we should look into that, how we should plan for that, how we should plan for BTOs, resale, There's so many topics that we are possibly going to look into. So do stay tuned for that. And at the same time, we do have also retirement webinars that we are going to do. So there's one, I believe, next week. So do check out for that retirement webinar where we'll talk about, the 3 pillars that we should all have in order to plan for our retirement. And it will be the 3 of us actually. So we'll each be talking about 1 pillar, and it will happen next week. I believe it's on the 20th, right? 20th.
Yeah, that's right. Next Thursday.
20th on the Thursday. Yeah, next Thursday at about 8:30 p.m. So we'll definitely put out the link as well, and you can join us there. Okay. Thank you guys for really joining us in this Supercharged Dialogues. And I see Pamela and Jesse. Thank you for joining us as well. I couldn't see who was in the chat, but I did see like 12 people and something like that. So, yeah, there was a lot of people in the chats as well. So thank you guys, and thank you for asking the questions. We'll see you guys in the next Supercharged Dialogues. Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Bye.